Demon Slayer is airing its final saga at long last, and we can only imagine the battle choreography and animation sequences that we're gonna witness. After the latest episode, it's clear as day that the calm before the storm is finally over, and now the big battles are going to kick in, all in a location that we've been curious about, but didn't have the pleasure to explore until now. Enough with the mountains, districts, and villages. The next arc is going to take place in the ever-moving lair of the demons, the Infinity Castle. This is a place with no beginning and no end. It's infinite. Worse than the worst maze in the world, it is one of Muzan's most loyal demons who has complete control over the castle where some of the biggest fights of the show are going to take place, putting the Demon Slayers at a huge disadvantage. So, in today's video, we'll discuss everything we know so far about the show, the final battle, and the final arc before the events kick in the anime. There are mild spoilers for anime onlys towards the end of the video, but don't worry, we'll let you know before we make some mild revelations so that you don't accidentally hear them. What we know so far. The story of Demon Slayer. The latest episode of Demon Slayer has finally wrapped up the Hashira training arc, and we have, at long last, reached the finale. Before we get into that though, let's do a quick refresher on the things that have happened so far. In the first season, while he was out and about in town, Tanjiro's family was slaughtered by Muzan himself, who tried to turn the members into demons due to them belonging to a lineage that had access to the esteemed sun-breathing technique. This resulted in Nezuko, the sole survivor of the massacre, becoming a demon, leading to a burning desire within Tanjiro to revert his sister back to a human and to take down Muzan so that no one would have to suffer the same tragedy as him ever again. He eventually joined the Demon Slayer Corps as a user of the water-breathing style, but eventually, via his inherited memories from his father, switched to his familial sun-breathing technique, or the Hinokami Kagura. Meanwhile, Nezuko was molded to be a special type of demon who didn't eat humans and fought on the side of humanity. Tanjiro then met the flame Hashira Kyojuro Rangoku, who was defeated and killed by the third strongest member of Muzan's 12 demon moons, the upper rank 3 Akaza. This created a deep-rooted resentment, if not hatred, towards Akaza within Tanjiro, while the demon considered the protagonist a weakling. In the next season, Tanjiro became part of taking down the upper rank 6 as he fought alongside the sound Hashira Tengen Uzui and his friends Zenitsu and Inosuke to defeat Gyotaro and Daki in the Entertainment District arc. During this arc, it was also revealed that for some reason, Muzan was terrified of sun-breathing, as he had been defeated terribly by a user of that technique in the past. In the next season, Tanjiro acquired the memories of his ancestor who seemed to have been close to a man who wore the same Hanafuda earrings as Tanjiro. He eventually went to the Swordsmith village and trained with a battle puppet known as the Yoriichi Type 0, who looked like the man Tanjiro had witnessed beside his ancestor in his memories. The training made him stronger and allowed him to take down the upper rank 4 Hantengu with aid from the demon-eating human Genya and love Hashira Mitsuri. Meanwhile, Mist Hashira Muichiro defeated the upper rank 5 Gyoko. During this time, both Hashiras awakened their Demon Slayer marks, similar to those of Tanjiro's, and grew stronger. Towards the end of the arc, Nezuko managed to conquer the sun and became the first demon in history to acquire immunity to sunlight, which made her a prime target for Muzan, who was desperate to get the ability for himself. To protect Nezuko and defeat Muzan, the benevolent demon Lady Tameo teamed up with the insect Hashira Shinobu Kocho for the sake of working on a drug that would turn a demon back into a human. Meanwhile, the Demon Slayer Corps soon initiated a training program led by the Hashiras, where every member of the Corps, as well as the Hashiras, would get the opportunity to train relentlessly and awaken their Demon Slayer mark to get stronger. Meanwhile, the Oyakata, or leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, who was already on the verge of death due to his failing health, baited Muzan to his mansion and blew himself and his family up to take down, or at least weaken, the Demon King. While Muzan regenerated, Lady Tameo, who resented Muzan for turning her into a demon, which subsequently led to her killing her own family, trapped Muzan using the blood demon art of the man he had turned into a demon back in Asakusa. She then jutted her fist inside him, causing Muzan to absorb that part of her, following which she revealed the creation of the drug that would turn any demon back into a human. She confessed that she was holding the drug in the hand Muzan had just absorbed, just like she had intended. She then called for the Stone Hashira to attack, who smashed Muzan's head using his weapon. No surprises in guessing that Muzan was unafraid of being beheaded since he could just regenerate his head. One by one, all the Hashiras and some of the other Demon Slayers began to attack a cornered Muzan, who then teleported them to the Infinity Castle, which was teeming with the strongest of Muzan's demonic forces. Muzan's motives. Why does he have to be taken out right now? The Demon King Muzan does what he does because he's thanatophobic, which signifies a phobia of death. He was born extremely frail and has been constantly on the verge of death since the time he was in his mother's womb. Growing up, he had to always operate under medical guidance and was told that he wouldn't be able to live past the age of 20. Naturally, he became desperate to find a cure for himself and avoid death at all costs, and he found hope in his doctor's experimental medicine. That medicine, however, didn't work, or so he thought, as he killed his doctor in a fit of rage. The incident helped him realize that the medicine had actually worked, and he finally had a strong body. However, he soon found out that he had become weak to sunlight, and his body would literally incinerate into ashes if he went out in the sun. So he grew extremely desperate to find a cure for this so that he could become the perfect being and never have to worry about death. Muzan regretted killing his doctor because he needed the recipe for the medicine the doctor had made. Through his own research, he learned that his doctor had used a rare flower called the blue spider lily in his medicine, which was what had helped him go from a weak human to a demon. So, Muzan began to look all across Japan for this plant, but was oblivious to the fact that the flower only grew 2 to 3 times a year in the mountains while the sun was out. He even began to create more demons using his blood to reduce his workload for the search, but just like him, every other demon was weak to the sun, oblivious to the flower's growth pattern, which led to them never being able to find the flower. Eventually, Muzan changed his plan of action and decided that if he couldn't overcome the sunlight, he'd have to create a demon who would be able to do so that he could consume them and acquire the ability. He knew of the sun-breathing technique, which had nearly killed him in the past, and was aware that it was the breathing technique most lethal to demons. So he had to find someone who could use the technique or had the potential to do so and turn them into a powerful demon. After all, a demon's greatest weakness was the sun, and the only reason why Nichiren blades were so effective against demons was due to the alloy being heavily absorbent of sunlight. Naturally, a sun breather would have the highest chances of conquering sunlight if they became a demon. For this, Tanjiro hunted down the Komodo family living by the mountains and injected a lethal dose of his blood into everyone. Almost everyone failed to mutate after such a strong dose and ended up dead. The only person who survived was Tanjiro's younger sister, Nezuko, but Muzan remained unaware of her transformation and left the household disappointed. He found hope again after Nezuko conquered sunlight towards the end of the Swordsmith Village arc and was desperate to eat her. This catapulted the plot into its final saga as Muzan appeared before the Oyakata and his family in his search for Nezuko. Shinobu and Lady Tameo working together to create a drug to revert demons back to human was for the sake of Nezuko as well, and most importantly, the Hashiras and the Demon Slayer Corps knew the implications of Nezuko's miraculous feat and were well aware of how relentlessly Muzan would pursue Nezuko because of it. So, this was the perfect time for them to take out the Demon King once and for all. And of course, this would be an incredibly difficult task, not just because of Muzan's strength, but also because of how desperate he was to become the perfect being and stay alive for all eternity. The Oyakata, Kagaya Ubuyashiki, and his animosity with Muzan. In the most recent episode of Demon Slayer, we saw the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, Kagaya Ubuyashiki, blew up his house with his family in Muzan's presence. The animosity between the leader, or Oyakata, and the Demon King isn't just due to their being on opposite sides, but also because of their familial connection. They are distantly related to Muzan Kibutsuji and have been for over 1,000 years. The lineage is renowned, but it all went south after Muzan was turned into a demon, making him the original demon, and making the Ubuyashikis a clan who are related to the progenitor of demons. For this reason, the clan was cursed, with every male child being born with a disease that would kill them before they became adults. The disease manifested on the skin with a burn-like pattern that spread across their body, as seen on Kagaya Ubuyashiki's face. The family tried to counter the curse by visiting a priest who told them that all the male heirs of the clan should marry a woman selected for them by a priest. They were also tasked with the duty of making it their life's goal to kill Muzan. This is because eliminating the man whose existence began the curse would purify and cleanse their bloodline, resulting in future male heirs being born healthy. This led to the Ubuyashiki clan forming the Demon Slayer Corps, appointing demon slayers under them and tasking them with slaying demons. Meanwhile, the present male heir became the leader of the Corps, with the demon slayers referring to him as Oyakata-sama. Doing so allowed the clan to offset the curse a bit, allowing them to live until adulthood and, in the best case scenarios, up until the age of 30. However, they still retained tremendous physical fragility, and their skin condition didn't cease to exist. During the events of Demon Slayer, Oaka Ubuyashiki acted as the 97th leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. He was around 23 years old but extremely physically unwell, making him incapable of attending his final meeting during which the Hashira training program was initiated. While on the verge of death, he blew up his property, himself, his wife, and 2 of his children in Muzan's presence, laying the foundation for the Infinity Castle arc to take place. The contribution of Lady Tameo and Shinobu Kocho. An important aspect we need to take into account is the creation of the drug that can turn a demon back into a human, also known as the anti-Kibutsuji drug. There are 3 key players in this: the demon Lady Tameo, who's a skilled doctor or apprentice, the demon Yoshiro, and the poison-using insect Hashira Shinobu Kocho. For centuries, Lady Tameo had been working on a drug to defeat Muzan. As revealed, she had a frail body due to her illness when she was a human. She wanted to grow old with her husband and see her child into adulthood, and for that reason, she accepted Muzan's offer to become a demon. However, demonhood changed her, and she ended up killing and eating her family, which she went on to resent terribly. At some point, she was able to break the psychic connection she had with Muzan, go astray, and become the very first demon to act separately from Muzan's will. During this time, she dedicated herself to her medical studies so that one day, Muzan could be defeated. She also became the first person after Muzan to create a demon, which is how Yoshiro came into play. Previously, he was a human boy suffering from illness, but Lady Tameo turned him into a demon using her medicine, and, like her, he was also a benevolent demon, acting separately from the will of the Demon King and aiding Lady Tameo. And finally, there's the insect Hashira Shinobu Kocho, who used a special Nichiren katana that could not behead a demon. Instead, at the tip of the katana, she laced a poison she created using wisteria flowers, which demons were weak to. She had a variety of poisons in her arsenal and was creative enough to concoct a versatile range, which she used in combat to defeat her enemy. Although demon slayers and demons never worked together, Nezuko conquering sunlight led to the Demon Slayer Corps recruiting Lady Tameo so that she could work alongside Shinobu to create a drug and turn Nezuko back into a human before Muzan could take her. Together, they concocted the anti-Kibutsuji drug, which, judging by Shinobu's poison creation style, used wisteria flowers. Lady Tameo also revealed that there was the blood of powerful demons and Nezuko Kamado in the mix. The poison is used right before the Infinity Castle arc, where Lady Tameo takes advantage of the fact that Muzan will absorb her flesh if she attacks him while he's restrained. This allows Muzan to absorb the anti-Kibutsuji drug as well, but in the process, Lady Tameo had no choice but to sacrifice herself, much to Yoshiro's dismay. The reason why the drug had to be created was due to the large gap in strength between Muzan and the Demon Slayers. Irrespective of how strong even the strongest Hashiras were, they had the strength to defeat the upper rank demons and often teamed up with other demon slayers to do so. And although the upper ranks were crazy powerful, were nothing compared to Muzan. Based on this, it's very evident that no Hashira was powerful enough to challenge the Demon King unless he was weakened using underhanded tactics. What makes the Infinity Castle such an interesting and complex structure, and who is responsible for it? As the Hashiras and the other demon slayers arrived at the spot where Muzan had been wounded and restrained, they began to attack him one after the other. His head was smashed, which he had managed to regenerate. His body was burned, but he had managed to regenerate that too. However, the plan wasn't to kill him then and there, but to stall him until sunrise, since it was evident that only sunlight could truly kill him. To prevent this from happening, however, Muzan teleported the Demon Slayers to the Infinity Castle. So, what exactly is the Infinity Castle and what makes it so special? The castle is teeming with endless wooden rooms and boasts Japanese architecture. The space is vast, but also extra-dimensional, as it was created using Blood Demon art. But this Blood Demon art doesn't belong to Muzan. Instead, it belongs to one of his most loyal demons, a biwa-wielding woman named Nakime. Due to her loyalty to the Demon King, she controls the Infinity Castle and allows Muzan to use it as his lair, making it the spot for the residency of his demons and the major meetings of the upper ranks. We've seen the castle operate on various occasions, such as the time before the Mugen train arc, where Muzan killed several of his lower moons and gave his power to Enmu. It was also seen in the beginning of the Swordsmith Village arc, as a meeting of the upper ranks was conducted following the defeat of the upper rank 6. From these moments, it was evident that Nakame would strum the strings of her biwa to control the Infinity Castle, immediately altering its structure and composition, causing the rooms, pillars, and the like to move around due to her absolute control within that space. As it is a space that doesn't exist in reality but is extra-dimensional, it's optimum for demons to operate there since the Demon Slayers cannot find it to hunt them down. They only find themselves in the Infinity Castle now because of Muzan, who can use his telepathic link with his demons to give them orders. So, obviously, he must have sent a signal to Nakame, following which she teleported the Demon Slayers to the ever-moving castle, where they will ideally never find their way, be intercepted by several demons, including the remaining upper moons. Power levels: Demon Slayers, Hashiras, and Demons. So let's go over the key players in this arc and how strong they may or may not be. Starting with the Demon Slayers, we have the lead trio, Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu. Tanjiro is obviously very strong at this point, and his Demon Slayer mark makes him yet stronger. He's also trained with the Yoriichi Type 0 robot, helped defeat 2 upper moons, possesses the sun-breathing technique, or Hinokami Kagura, and is shown to be inheriting memories from his ancestors, allowing him to improve his sun-breathing. His sense of smell has also developed after training against the Yoriichi puppet, allowing him to smell the future and predict his opponent's next moves. When Tanjiro took part in the strenuous Hashira training, he went far enough to complete the impossible training created by the stone Hashira, Gyome Himejima, and managed to grow his Demon Slayer mark in the process. He can be considered a Hashira-level Demon Slayer despite not officially possessing the title. He may not be as powerful as Gyome or the Wind Hashira Sanemi, but that is precisely due to the current generation of Hashiras being some of the greatest in history. Next up, there's Inosuke, who has grown much stronger than before and has proven to have extraordinary perception that allows him to sense the intent of anyone around him. He was also part of defeating the Upper Moon 6 in the Entertainment District, where he fought against Daki. He has shown proficiency in being so flexible that he can move his organs around. Despite being very powerful, he's not as strong as a Hashira or even Tanjiro. Zenitsu, well, he is extremely powerful when he's asleep and pretty much a coward while he's awake. We haven't really seen him perform after the Entertainment District arc, where he fought alongside Inosuke to defeat Daki. His speed is impeccable due to his perfect and masterful usage of the thunder-breathing first form. However, he seems to know only one form of thunder breathing. Had he mastered the other forms the way he mastered the first, he would have easily outstripped most of the Hashiras. Between him and Inosuke, he is weaker than Inosuke on average, but when he's asleep, he might just be better. There is also Shinobu's apprentice, Kane Kocho, who had aced the selection exams and was quick to master the total concentration breathing constant. Due to her constantly working under a Hashira, it only makes sense for her to be extremely powerful, even though we've yet to see her fight. Among the Hashiras, the ones who will be performing in the Infinity Castle arc are the Stone Hashira, Gyome Himejima, Wind Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa, Water Hashira, Giyu Tomioka, Serpent Hashira, Obanai Iguru, Love Hashira, Mitsuri Kanroji, Mist Hashira, Muichiro Tokiro, and Insect Hashira, Shinobu Kocho. It is a known fact that the Stone Hashira is the most powerful of them all, attested by his leadership over the other Hashiras, as seen during the meeting where he clapped to conduct silence in the room, how everyone seems to look up to him. He also handled the toughest training of all during the Hashira training, and seems to easily push a boulder far larger than him across a town. Since the exercise was created to awaken the Demon Slayer mark, he probably has awakened the mark, and we're just yet to see it. He is also the person the Oyakata entrusted his plan of self-sacrifice to, following which he used his weapon to smash Muzan's head. We haven't seen him in complete action so far, but narratively, it's evident that he's considered to be the most powerful Demon Slayer of the present day. Naturally, he'll be seen in action in the Infinity Castle arc. Next up, there's the aggressive Wind Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa, who seemed to be the second most powerful in the group. Powerful enough for no one to have a say over him except the Stone Hashira, as seen from the first season where he tried to provoke Nezuko into attacking him to prove a point. Sanemi also possesses Marechi blood, which is a rare, fictional, and in-universe blood type that is highly special and desired by demons. It is said that if a demon consumes one human with Marechi blood, they get the same amount of nutrition they would get if they consumed 100 ordinarians. Naturally, this blood is responsible for making Sanemi extremely powerful, aiding his exemplary wind breathing and swordsmanship. To attest to how special this blood is, Sanemi's brother Genya, who is incapable of using breathing techniques, fights demons by biting and eating their flesh and, in the process, acquiring demon-like abilities from time to time that aren't permanent but get the job done. It's extremely unusual for a human to be able to do something like that. The Marechi blood allows Genya to pull it off. Despite that, Genya is far weaker in comparison to Sanemi, who, like Gyome, is yet to be seen in action. And then there's the Water Hashira, Giyu Tomioka, who has shown off his strength against the lower-ranked demon, Rui. While Tanjiro and Nezuko had to go through hell and back to defend themselves against the arachnid demon, Giyu used a rare, self-created form of water breathing to one-shot the powerful demon. Although perceived to be extremely powerful based on reputation and feats, Giyu Tomioka was psychologically nerfed due to his childhood friend, Saburo, dying during the selection arc to protect him. In fact, Giyu had chickened out during the selection, and Saburo had single-handedly defeated every demon. However, he himself perished in the end, while Gyu got selected to be a demon slayer just because he had survived. Both Gyu and Saburo had trained under the former water Hashira, Uro Kodaki, to be the next water Hashira. However, Saburo was more gifted than Gyu and would have taken the spot. The accident led to Gyu training hard and becoming a powerful water Hashira, but he never considered himself to be powerful due to the trauma he faced as a result of Saburo's death. However, it's also implied that the incident was what allowed him to become so powerful, and he's set to go all out in the upcoming arc. The Serpent Hashira, Obanai Iguro, is another character who's mysterious. We know he's powerful, but we've yet to see him in action. He spearheaded the sword training, teaching other Hashiras and Demon Slayers impeccable sword techniques available to him due to his skill set and serpent breathing. Because of his breathing style, it's evident that he can use his sword in sneaky ways to land unavoidable and unpredictable attacks on his opponents. But we know that he's very strong because he is implied to be stronger than Love Hashira Mitsuri, which we will explain soon, and we've seen how powerful she is in the previous arc. So let's talk about the Love Hashira. Not only is Mitsuri extremely powerful due to her dense muscles, flexibility, super strength, and exemplary gymnastic-style swordsmanship, but she also has an awakened Demon Slayer mark, as seen when she got it in her fight against the upper rank 4. The demon, Hantengu, was extremely powerful with the most versatile blood demon art, and Mitsuri was seen fighting the most powerful form of the demon as she took on the clone Zohakuten, who was a combination of some of the demon's strongest clones and possessed different types of powers. Meanwhile, the demon's original body wasn't all that powerful, unlike this clone. While Tanjiro, Genya, and Nezuko had been completely cornered and pressed by Zohakuten, Mitsuri was able to push the clone back, so much so that Zohakuten realized it wouldn't be able to defeat her, so he decided to tire her out instead, which ultimately failed since Tanjiro was able to behead the main clone. As a very powerful woman, Mitsuri had experienced social ridicule for not being the frail and delicate person people wanted her to be. This ruined her marriage and romance prospects as well, and it became her dream to find a man stronger than her in the Demon Slayer Corps so that she could be herself in love without having to pretend to be weaker. A romance between her and the Serpent Hashira Obanai is hinted at, with him gifting her socks to match the color of her hair, and with respect to Mitsuri wanting a man stronger than him, it's believed that the Serpent Hashira is extremely powerful, even though we've yet to see him fight in the anime. Next is Miss Hashira Muichiro Tokiro, who single-handedly defeated the upper rank 5 Gyoko. Not only was he able to nullify the demon's strongest attacks after trial and error, but in the process, he even awakened his Demon Slayer mark and grew far stronger, following which he was able to defeat the upper rank without much of a struggle. He also proved to be very intelligent, as seen when he deduced how to break Gyoko's water prison and when he was able to list down his heart rate and body temperature during the awakening of his Demon Slayer mark. And finally, we have the Insect Hashira Shinobu Kocho, who is not as powerful in raw strength as her peers, but it is her mastery of her craft and usage of creative poisons that have allowed her to become a Hashira. So far, we've never really seen her struggle in a fight, and she's responsible for making Kane Kocho very powerful very early. On top of that, Shinobu is very gifted at making poisons, and the usage of Wisteria gives her a huge advantage over demons, since Wisteria to demons is like garlic to vampires. This leaves us with the main demons. We already know how powerful Muzan is, with him having to be weakened and stalled until sunrise, since no one is powerful enough to stop him on their own. He's clearly not the most powerful being in that universe, since his fear of sun breathing tells us that there's been at least one man who pocketed the Demon King in battle, but apart from that, he's somewhat invincible during the events of the story. He's followed in strength by the upper rank 1 demon, Kokushibo, who looks very similar to the battle puppet Tanjiro trained against. In fact, he boasts the appearance of a demon slayer turned demon, which means that he is a demon who possesses great skills with a sword, and by extension, a breathing technique. He's also powerful enough to outdo the upper rank 2 Doma and upper rank 3 Akaza in a second, with both demons being desperate to defeat the upper rank 1 and usurp his position. However, due to the gap between them and rank 1, they dare not challenge him. Needless to say, we'll see Kokushibo in an elaborate battle during the Infinity Castle arc. The upper rank 2 Doma is another demon we need to see in action. We know that he's stronger than Akaza, but the power gap between the two doesn't seem to be too much, since Akaza can land hits on Doma and injure him. However, Doma also confessed that Akaza was able to injure him only because he intentionally didn't dodge. It's unknown as to whether this is true or not. Doma is also the person responsible for turning Gyutaro and Daki into demons, proving that he's powerful enough for Muzan to let him do something like that. The upper rank 3 Akaza needs no introduction, as we've seen him go all out against the Flame Hashira Kyojuro Rengoku, who might have been the top 3 in strength among all Hashiras. His proficiency with the Soryu-style martial arts and his blood demon art of using explosive fists is a lethal combination. A social Darwinist by nature, he's obsessed with the idea of getting stronger by fighting stronger opponents and the survival of the fittest philosophy, which gives him a huge edge as he's not the type to flatline when it comes to strength or back out of a fight. The anime-only side of the fanbase is hotly anticipating seeing him in battle and learning more about him. There's also Kaigaku, who previously used to train with Zenitsu under the former Thunder Hashira Jigoro Kuwajima. Unlike Zenitsu, Kaigaku was more gifted, and it was expected that he would become the next Thunder Hashira, but he also had the attitude of a coward and would chicken out when faced with a stronger opponent. Naturally, he surrendered against the upper rank 1 and took up the demon's offer to become a demon, making him the second demon ever to possess a breathing technique. Finally, Nakame has been shown to be very proficient in combat, but since the final battles will take place in her lair, she might be causing a lot of problems for the Demon Slayers by altering the structure of the castle. And with this control, it would also be very hard to get close to her and kill her to stop her, as she can just defend herself by changing the layout of the castle and sending the Demon Slayer far away from her. Much awaited matchups! Considering the way the arc has been set up, we're in for several separate battles since the characters have been spread apart. Spoiler alert for anime onlys, as we will mention the battle matchups without talking about the major plot points. There is a very obvious matchup between Tanjiro and Akaza. This much-awaited battle comes after the Mugen train arc, where Tanjiro watched Akaza slaughter Rengoku. It only makes sense for them to meet and fight again, with the odds in Tanjiro's favor this time. The protagonist is also joined by Giyu Tomioka, a pairing that holds great narrative value. It was the Water Hashira who sent Tanjiro on the path of demon slaying, and it was Tanjiro who motivated Giyu to join the Hashira training instead of beating himself up over Sabiro's death. There is another battle between upper rank 2 Doma and the insect Hashira Shinobu Kocho. This fight has great narrative value because Shinobu's sister, Kanai Kocho, was slaughtered by Doma, and now it's her time to avenge her sister. She's joined by Kanao Suyuri. Although Kanai is not related to Shinobu and Kanao by blood, they always treated her like a sister. Inosuke seems like the odd one out here, but it soon becomes clear why it's necessary for him to join the battle against Doma to defeat the upper rank 2. Then, there's the battle against the upper rank 1 Kokushibo, where he fights the Stone Hashira, Wind Hashira, Mist Hashira, and Genya. It literally takes 3 Hashiras and 1 demon-eating human to fight upper rank 1, proving just how powerful Kokushibo is. This demon isn't as narratively tied to his opponents as the previous 2 matchups, but it does allow us to see the strongest 2 Hashiras of the present generation in action against the second strongest demon ever. We also get to see the Shinazugawa siblings who do not see eye to eye fight side by side. Finally, Muichiro plays a big role in this battle. The Love and Serpent Hashiras fight side by side for the first time against Nakame, who has been given upper rank 4 status in this arc. She has possibly received more blood from Muzan to become stronger, allowing her to join the 12 Demon Moons. Needless to say, both Mitsuri and Obanai are stronger than Nakame, but the battle is complicated by her control over the castle where the action is taking place. The 2 Hashiras are eventually assisted by Lady Tameo's apprentice, Yushiro. Finally, we have Zenitsu versus Kaigaku, with Kaigaku filling the position of upper rank 6. He possibly became stronger by consuming too many humans too quickly and was given a significant dose of Muzan's blood. The narrative value in this battle is quite high due to their former master having committed seppuku, an honorable form of samurai suicide, upon learning of his student becoming a demon. Naturally, Zenitsu resents Kaigaku, while the latter is ambivalent towards his feelings. Marvelous verdict! The Infinity Castle arc presents a ton of revelations that change how we perceive many characters. We begin to love those we once hated and hate those we previously didn't care about. Not only is the arc filled to the brim with unbelievable action, which is going to be even more fantastic under UFO Table's animation and Yuki Kajiura's soundtrack, but it's also packed with emotional highs. Don't be surprised if you end up shedding more tears than you did during the Mugen train arc. We're not guaranteeing that it'll happen, but it just might. You've been warned. With that, today's video comes to an end. How'd you like it? Share all your thoughts with us in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, this is Wheezy249 signing off, but you can always find me on Twitch. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.